I'm not a morning person.
Dedicated to being passionate about it.
Bodybuilders have become more lazy.
People have always thought I lift fake weights.
Iran and the United States.
You take responsibility for that.
So in 1980, you got the 15th place at the Olympia. And then
16. I make it worse.
Oh, man. But then 1983, you won the Mr. Olympia. How did you make that progress? I mean, it was only...
I was trying too hard. So I could tell you why. Understanding what's moderation, you know, more is less sometimes. More is less. So I was trying too hard. And what's funny, Frank Zane actually mentions that Samir, you're trying too hard. I didn't really understand. But at the time, I had some complication. It wasn't unhealthy. It wasn't really that I was in bad health, but I would cut my sodium too early. And really, nobody wants to tell this kid Samir what to do at the time. They made me learn. I went through the trial and error. So I would cut my sodium way too early, and my body really needed. I'm a sodium kind of person. You put me on low sodium for 2-3 days, I'll look like hell. I need it. So it was electrolyte imbalance. What happened when I cut my sodium for too early, and then I went and educated myself about fluid and electrolyte management, and no, I know exactly what to do. What's funny, one time Joe Weider himself, he goes, "Oh my God, Samir." Joe goes, "Samir, why don't you today take like a half a tablespoon of salt?" I'm like, what is he talking about? Joe, at the time, that was back in 81. So I realized that when your sodium intake is in place, your aldosterone level will drop. When you dehydrate for too long, your aldosterone, the hormone, is capable of bringing the fluids from the intracellular to the subcutaneous, as God made us to protect ourselves. So the adrenal cortex releases this mineralocorticoid as a protection to the body. So it wasn't like I'm unhealthy. In fact, I was healthy, but my body was doing whatever it takes to protect me. But I later realized that I cannot cut my sodium too early. And if I cut it, I don't really need to cut it too sharply. And so that's a different, nobody believed that I trained like a madman for the 80 Olympia. And I trained super hard for the 81. But at the time, I was still studying myself. Then I realized exactly what needed to be done. So when I put it together in 82, which is in 82, many experts believe that I should have won in 82. I was actually more ripped in 82 than 83. You know, in 82, I was 186 pounds. My body fat measured at 2.2 1 month before the Olympia. And then I'm sure it went below 2. Is that necessary to be that low in body fat? It's not. But because my body was retaining fluid, sometimes you see subcutaneous fluid as fat. So people cannot differentiate. So you try harder. So this is what's important, is to understand, to listen to your body. If your body really craving salt, just keep your sodium intake normal, and you don't need to cut it. And I was to the point, Vlad, where I would eat trout instead of eating salmon, for example, or snapper, because river fish, well water, it has a lot less sodium. Like, for example, I wouldn't eat a bit of celery. The celery is high in sodium. So I was so technical way ahead of time. So Mike Mensa, one of those guys that actually watched his sodium, for him it worked. For me, it backfired. So we're not exactly the same. Some individual are a little different in this biochemistry. You know, the basic stuff were the same, but some people can get away with eating higher sodium. Some people can't. I'm one of those that I have to keep the sodium in. I only cut it like 40 hours before. That's it.
So you're basically saying you were more tedious and worked harder before you won the Olympia. When you won the Olympia, you were a little bit easier.
I was training hard all the time, even in 80 and 81. I'm like, There's not one year that I didn't train hard. But the thing is, you have to create balance. So the whole thing is balance. You need to create balance. And one of the advice that Bill Pearl actually told me, and later I started to believe that statement. You have to listen to your body. The bottom line, listen to your body. You're hungry? Eat. Just because your coach told you eat 6 meals and you force yourself to do it, that's not right. I won the Olympia eating 5 meals a day. I'm not saying, oh, 6 is wrong, but the body adapts to what you do. Sometimes 6 is fine. Sometimes, for me, 5 was perfect. I didn't really need to eat more, but at times when I'm hungry, okay, let's say I'm hungry at 10 o'clock at night, that's fine. I'll do like 3 whole eggs and I have like a little bit of a piece of cucumber. I understand how to keep my body alkaline by keeping the green and, small things you learn along the way. And so I'm telling you, bodybuilding can be very healthy. It can be healthy. It probably won't be healthy the final 72 hours where you have to force your body into more dryness and dehydration. But it can be just fine. Checking your chemistry, checking your hormonal balance and checking your red blood cell, all these necessary things for you to stay healthy, you check it. That's why I tell these guys they should have a blood test and checking the result maybe every couple of months while you're doing this kind of prep. Sometimes your hemoglobin, which is you have too much red blood cell, that it cause problem, and so Vlad, it's really it's learning throughout your life. You will always learn, and so from my perspective, yes, you can be Mr. Olympia without crossing the line into the danger zone.
Now, you won Mr. Olympia in 1983. Now, winning
Yeah.
Olympia is a very prestigious title, of course. There's been bodybuilders in history that dreamt of winning this title and never got it, and you got it. That's
It's the
incredible.
most prestigious title,
Right.
and I honestly believe that I could have won Olympia more than once more. But I'm not one of those guys crybaby. It is what it is. I've got what I want. A lot of people felt my result in '84 was complete highway robbery.
I was going to ask you because you went from the first to in 1983, and you went to the sixth place, and then the following year, correct?
That sixth
Oh,
place was not sixth place. That was they took me from here and put me in sixth.
so what happened? Like,
You look at the video. You look at the video. You look at the picture. There's no way in hell. It was between me and Ron Coleman. I mean, sorry, Lee Haney.
Mhm.
Lee Haney and I went first head to head in New York, and that's the truth. It's funny. I I will send you the statement. One of the judges from '82 who voted for me fourth a few days ago. I woke up and I saw on one of the links on one of the threads he said, in all honesty, Samir was the winner. In my opinion, he should have won the Mr. Olympia, and I made a huge mistake. You
In
know,
84, in 84,
in '82, in
82.
'82. So one of the judges gave me ninth on symmetry slide.
Hmm.
And that one judge now, 40 years later, is saying like, "Oh, Samir should have won." But this is ridiculous. But me, I'm like, live and let live. It's done. What's done is done. But
Right.
it's good to be truthful. In '84, I had some issue where it was done. That it was done intentionally. In '84. In
So
'84,
what happened in 84?
it's a long story. Something happened. Something bad happened actually. But
Like
I
you
was
had
a
an issue,
big.
like you had an issue with somebody basically, some kind of like external problem.
Well, sometimes there's always some jealous people staying in the wing. And be careful with these jealous people.
Sure.
Be careful of these people that are too nice to sometimes. Joe Weider, rest in peace, he really liked me like his son.
Mhm.
And I loved Joe. And I always respected him. And my dream was to work with Joe. So people orchestrated stuff, crazy, crazy stuff happened where they made me argue with Joe. And when I had that argument, like baseball kind of argument,
Right.
they turned it as a Samir who physically attacked Joe. And I swear to God, on the soul of my father, I never really touched Joe. I love Joe like a father. So Joe Weider was a victim, not by me, and I was a victim in this circumstance where we got in an argument. And it's a long story. It's a long
No,
story,
no, I
but
understand. I understand.
believe me, in '84, I was intentionally robbed.
Yeah, because when I was doing research for this, I'm looking at it. You won 83, and then the next year you go to sixth place. I'm like, how does
And
that add up? You know what I
it
mean?
wasn't
Doesn't
that
add up.
much blood. I'm telling you, I wasn't that far. I was just as good in '84.
Right.
It was just as good. And in fact, I have people tell me congratulations backstage, the contestant. I'll say it. He's still with us. Tony Pearson told me congratulations backstage at the '84 Olympia. He said, you got it. Several people. Lila Brada was with me backstage. Lila Brada was with me backstage. And he was just a beginner. And I took him backstage to he was like to get him motivated. It is what it is, but the truth has to come out. I'm not afraid. What's done is done. I don't want that title back, but I want people to know the truth.
So you are basically the victim of politics or circumstances to a certain degree.
Well, there's a couple of individual. I don't want to say their name.
You
I
don't
don't want
have
to
to.
say
You don't have to say. You don't have to say the names. It's all good.
a couple of people. They really were dirty, and those same people they cheated Joe Weider too later in another way. So I can tell you some really deep inside stuff. Some deep inside stuff.
Mhm.
But it is what it is. But the average Joe out there don't know the truth. Okay, well, Vlade is in eighth place. You could be the winner. How the hell? Okay, you're in eighth place. You're stuck with your eighth place, and that's what the average Joe is going to believe. But that's not the truth. I know the truth. So it happened. I mean, okay, well, they voted Arnold first, 1980. And here I am telling you, he's my hero. I really wanted him to win. Should he have won? No, he shouldn't have. Sorry, Arnold. I love you, though.